What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackowitz. This is the Kaged Review, and it's been a while since I've been able to talk to you. So, there's a lot to catch up on, and this is going to be kind of like a multi-topic post that's kind of slash rant. But I wanted to share some things with you guys that I feel are important to bring up. Now, for those that don't know, a lot has happened to me since last we talked. For example, I got married. So this is my lovely wife behind me. Say hi, lovely wife. Her name's Becca, and it's very, very cool. It's been exciting. We've been married for about 6 months, and things are going amazingly, amazingly well. So, that being said, I've had a few posts in the past where I've talked about like being homeless and what that life is like and what has happened and what keeps happening. And so there's a few things I want to detail. And first, I actually got out of homelessness. I was in a place, I was doing a house share. But when Becca came back into my life, kind of a long story, but I'm giving you guys the very abridged version. She came back into my life at some point, and at that point, I asked my landlord if he would put her on the lease. He absolutely refused. And so it was like, well, shit, what do? I can't just leave her out here by herself to fend for herself with no place to go. So I decided to get rid of the house, put everything in storage. I got a queen size bed in there, dresser, some wardrobes for our clothes. And we're basically in and out of our storage unit to make life happen. And after that, I had to get a new job. Something happened to the job that I was at, and I had to get a license. We have to get into a place, all of that, the usual life shit. So I got the job. I get my license this Friday, and we're supposed to be moving into a place as of June 1st. Now, all of that is to be celebrated. That's all great accomplishments because it all really happened actually very fast. And so that's great. It's good to know that, I can get in there, make shit happen. Phenomenal. But there's something else. She got pregnant very, very fast. We wanted to get pregnant, but we didn't want it to happen quite as fast as it did. It happened very, very quickly. I think it was, 3 weeks after we got married, something like that. Becca. I swear this girl. Anyway, it was like 3 weeks after we got married, we found out she was pregnant. So with that being said, she tried to get into a few places around town for mothers, expecting. And what we found out is that there's really nothing for mothers expecting. There was a place called Solve that literally this is what they are designed for. And they're supposed to help people with like mental health problems. And so, Solve comes back and they said they won't help her because of her mental health diagnosis. And we went to the Salvation Army looking for help, see if we got a program, and nothing, just absolutely nothing. And so the Salvation Army told us that they can't help us until she actually has the baby, which to me is reverse thinking. I'm gonna sit down here. So here we are. We got a kid on the way. There's literally no help at all. There was nothing. So we realized, very quickly, we're going to have to do this ourselves. And I have no problem with that, honestly. At the end of the day, I am here to work, earn it. I have no issues with that. But it does kind of suck because if there are people that have this issue, there's nothing for them. And I mean nothing. Sarasota, Florida has zero help for mothers expecting. There's no shelter. There's literally no program with somebody that has, mental health diagnosis and is pregnant while they're homeless to get any kind of help. And so the system is literally built to put children in foster care. It's the design. And so that's why I realized that I was going to have to deal with this very quickly. got the job, we're looking at being in a place in plenty of time, so that's good. But it kind of sucks that it was the extremely hard road. And as hard roads go, trust me, this kind of sucked. This was a fight, and it was an uphill fight all the way. Saving enough money to get into a place is hard enough around here. Being able to find a place you can afford. And when you deal with certain mental health issues, it makes it very difficult because you're stressed all the time. You go to work, you're worried about doing a good job at work, you're worried about anything happening, you're wondering how the boss is going to take to you and whether you do a good job. And then you just have to deal with the day-to-day grind, of course, which, everybody does. It's part of life. But then you have, coming home and you got to try to keep your wife happy because she's now pregnant. She's homeless. She doesn't really know nobody around here, and it can be very lonely at times for her, and I understand that. And so you put all that together, and it's a recipe for disaster at some point. Like, it's just something is going to give. And thankfully, Becca and I have been able to withstand everything and stay together and deal with this, and we're very close to moving into a place. How does that make you feel? Well, is she smiling? Lady of many words. Come on, give somebody something. How do you feel?
Happy.
Happy?
Yeah.
As you're playing with your nose on YouTube?
I'm not in my nose. I'm scratching it.
Okay,
Side of it.
she's scratching it. So, it kind of sucks though, because you would think of all places like Salvation Army especially, like they have a children's dorm. And in that children's dorm, you have to have the baby before they will help you. They consider being pregnant a liability. And that to me is just shitty. It's so shitty. Because the women who are actively pregnant, who haven't had the baby yet, what are they supposed to do? And especially if the husband or the father just decides to be a piece of shit, what do they do if they're a single mother in this situation and they have no one to help them? And so it really kind of sucks. And I really think that they need to look into how do you help somebody in this position that just has nothing to be able to get into their own place. My wife, she gets an SSI check. She finds it very hard to keep a job, and there's reasons for that. And so it makes it very difficult for her to establish a natural routine, where she can save money and get into a place and manage her finances on her own. It's difficult. So at the end of the day, it's not a perfect scenario for sure. I'm glad that we were able to fight through this. I've got the job, I'm getting the license, we're getting into a place. But places like Solve, who are literally designed for this and telling people no because they don't have the proper diagnosis for them to handle, is kind of bullshit. Like, that's literally what they're there for.
They're a Christian organization.
Yeah.
They believe in God. Just saying.
So she said they're a Christian organization, and one of the other things right now, obviously you can tell by some of my language, I'm certainly not where I'm supposed to be, but we did get into a church and we're kind of working through some things there. But we are trying to, find, I don't want to say find our faith in God, because that's not right. I found my faith in God and I believe in Him. But finding our way back onto the right path, I think, is the best way to say it. There's a lot of things that have changed recently, and getting married and having a kid on the way are two things that will make you grow up and do a lot of things differently real quick. One of the things with Rebecca is she's never had that. You know, she's never had somebody that stood by her side. Everybody in her life has used her, abused her, manipulated her, or just left her. And that sucks. That really sucks. You know, if you step into the kitchen, you got to make sure you can handle the heat, so to speak. And that's one of those things, like when you deal with any kind of mental health, you have to know what it is and you have to know how to handle it. You have to know what you're dealing with. And unfortunately, a lot of cases, people don't care. They're too selfish. They're too self-centered. All they want to do is take the easy road, and I refuse to do that. And you know, I'm glad that we found each other, because as unique a relationship as it may be, it works very, very well. And believe me, I've gone to bat for this girl more than once already. So hopefully in the next few weeks you will be seeing, you know, the new license, the new car, the new place. We're going to kind of try to detail this journey, but I'm also trying to get Becca to kind of detail her own journey with her own mental health struggles and stuff, something she's kind of been resistant to because it's hard for her to talk about. And plus there's things you just kind of have to keep politically correct on here. So that's something we got to work on. But
you have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all.
Something like that. But you know, I'm trying to get her to open up too, because I think in the end it will help her, but I'm not going to shove it down her throat. That's when she's ready for it. So hopefully we can get some of that going too. So I just kind of wanted to get that off my chest. I think it's important to say, you know, hey, why is there no help around here? Why do people not give a shit? And maybe if somebody sees this and be like, oh, maybe there's a problem with this, it'll help.
Never move to Florida because when they're pregnant, because they have absolutely nothing. They'd rather you suffer and watch your children get taken.
Well, and there is part of the crux of the problem there. That's a story for another time, but you know, we'll talk about a situation that Becca was in that was pretty heartbreaking, honestly. So, you know, we'll keep adding some posts here. I want everybody to kind of get familiar with Becca, and I want Becca to open up and start talking more. We'll get her there. We'll get her there. She's shy at first, but once she gets used to something, you know, she can talk for a while. So we'll talk to you guys later.